Welcome to the Make Love Easy podcast. Michael McDonald here to grace us with his elegance and expertise and power and capacity and buoyant, brilliant, just fun, delightful affinity and grace. There's just so much. This man, you need to meet this man. You're gonna get the privilege of hearing from this man. Thanks for being here, man.
My pleasure. It's so much fun to be chatting with you.
So, yeah, I'm glad we're gonna have even more fun soon as the chat starts. Today we're talking in the direction of make love easy. So sex, relationships, dating, living your purpose, awakening your identity in the distinction set that I have here, right? Helping awkward, anxious men become social rock stars, get even better at sex, better at relationship, live their purpose so that everything else is supercharged. The piece that I found you falling most directly and uniquely into was this one on the bottom, the awakened identity. And awakened identity is what comes out of the other side of mindfulness or meditation practices leading to forms or versions of enlightenment that then make you a mighty guru. I'm just kidding. That then make you more free and at ease to just be with whatever is, and also paradoxically more effective at achieving goals because you're not pursuing them to make you whole. You're pursuing them as a whole being from your magnificence, from your potency. And yeah, I think that's enough of a cue and a prompt. Do you want to tell your story of journey into the world of, oh, this is the last thing. The
Mhm.
last time we talked, you were like, I am at my sexual peak. So something like that. I'm not sure if you used that exact phrase, but that's what you left me with. And I was just like,
Yeah,
want to know how that happened.
yeah. So yeah, that's not the phrase that I used. I'm wondering, it's like, am I? No, I don't think so. Is it past? Is it still in the future? This peak? I'm I
Is it even
think
a
it's
thing?
I think it's just that I have a new lover. So it's like
Okay.
yeah, there's an abundance right now. Like there's a lot of energy there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Um, oh, there's a couple different directions I could go. There's almost like dealer's choice here because there's like my story, which I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking about until you just started to ask that. But awakened identity, like that spoke to me.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'll run with that.
Yeah.
Because yeah, when you showed me when you sort of moved aside, I could see the awakened identity. It's just like, okay, oh yeah, that's me. Like that's my territory here, or
Awesome.
my sweet spot.
Let's do it, man.
Where the other stuff, social rock star, live your purpose, sexual health and vitality, um, that like there's been a reversal of flow where the more that I've gotten into awakened identity, the more those other things tend to just emerge by themselves without me needing to do or effort or construct or add or create.
We're gonna need
There
some
is
meat on
this
those bones.
space.
I,
Was
I
that?
would love to hear specific stories because that is exactly. Thank you. You're perfect for this. Let's go.
And so chronologically, I might tie this into story as well. I think people often like it's natural to first work on this stuff,
Mhm.
first be in the territory of, okay, I'm going to try to figure out my purpose. Okay, I'm going to figure out how to relate with people. It's like, okay, I'm going to like specifically like learn about sexual health and do all the various like sexual practices.
Kegels, the tantra. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the PC pumps and learning tantra and slowing down and lasting longer and learning about sexuality. Like I've been a sex geek as well. I've been a purpose geek. I've been a relating geek. I've been a productivity geek. I spent a lot of my time early on in my personal development years learning things and practicing and skills. And the interesting thing is that after doing a lot of that work, every once in a while when things would drop, like I have a deeper insight into these territories. I'd have a deeper insight into who I am and have a deeper insight into the nature of relating.
Hmm.
a deeper insight into the nature of sexuality, a deeper insight into the nature of identity. There's some point where instead of learning and practicing and trying and adding and lots of doing, I would see something, then I'd start to realize like, oh, it's instead of something more to do, there's stuff that's in the way.
Hmm.
There's stuff to actually stop doing. Where I started to recognize instead of adding practices, it's finding things that I had been doing that if I just stop doing that or stop thinking that, then something even more profound starts to happen. Um, Start with relating, because a lot of my initial journey here was especially within the authentic relating and the circling world,
Hmm.
where I remember being fairly socially anxious and shy and removed. I was a software developer living in the South Bay, and yeah, uh, didn't really have much of a life except going out to dinner with old friends from college who had also moved to the Bay Area. And I realized at some point that I just needed to get a life, wanted to get a life. That's where I started studying a bit about like relationships and sexuality, and I started taking acting classes. I started being social. I started being intentional, like go out and work on myself. Some of it was practice, some of it was learning. And when I got involved with Authentic World, I got involved with the world of authentic relating and circling, being with people who really lived that. Then I started recognizing that actually this work is primarily subtractive. Like, what am I doing that's getting in the way? What am I thinking that's getting in the way? What noise is in my head that when I'm just quiet and present and not really thinking about much at all, suddenly people are reflecting to me that I'm being really authentic. Suddenly I'm doing things that seem very courageous or bold or like things that seemed scary before I'm just doing. And it's not because I built myself up. It's because I stopped thinking something.
Did you say stop thinking so much?
I stopped thinking something.
Ah, you stopped thinking something,
Yeah.
like anything.
Yeah. Like one of the things I learned about authenticity is the less that I think about myself, the more authentic I am.
Wow. That deserves to be on one of your cards.
It probably is somewhere in one of my quotes. Like there's a quote from Sid Banks, which is a paraphrase of that as well. Humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. And I started to value not really, instead of constructing myself or like trying to create an image of myself or trying to present myself in a certain way, trying to impress people or worried about what people think of me, just not thinking about any of that became the key for me being more present and more authentic. And ironically, the less that I'm thinking about myself, the more that I seem to have some sort of signature character and style.
Hmm.
But it doesn't occur as like something that I'm doing or cultivating, and it doesn't occur like something that I'm stuck in either. Because yeah, there's definitely a flavor to me, but it's not like I intentionally designed it and practiced it. It's what happens when I'm not thinking about myself. It's what happens when I'm not worried about what people think.
Hmm.
And I've also got range the less that I'm thinking about myself. It's not just this one flavor the whole time. Sometimes I get really pissed off. Sometimes I get even more quiet. Sometimes I get even more wild and crazy. I have more freedom to go into any corner that feels appropriate in the moment or just feels like where I'm inspired in the moment. I have less of a fixed definition of myself. And so the less I try to categorize myself, the more myself I am. And yeah, there's a recognizable flavor, but it's it's not fixed. It's not stuck.
Yeah, you're like you are the embodiment of the codes of the Tao Te Ching.
Yes, I mean like it's here on the
Literally right there.
desktop
Oh,
as
it's the
well.
right translation too. It's the Stephen Mitchell
Oh
translation.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Who is married to Byron Katie.
that's awesome. That is so perfect. Have Have you ever read his second book of the Tao? Did you know he put out a sequel?
No.
Oh,
No.
it's just as good. Highly recommend.
Just as good as the Tao Te Ching?
Yes,
Ooh.
because he does the same thing with more Taoist texts.
Okay. Okay. I've read Byron Katie's book, which is sort of her writing like inspired by passages from the Tao Te Ching.
Cool.
I think it's like 100 names for joy or something like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
want to go back to something that's really awesome. Um, at first you were learning to grow and skill up and be better at something, and then eventually you were realizing, to quote the Tao, every day in the learning of something, something is added, but every day in the practice of the Tao, something is dropped.
Yeah. There's something, okay, piece this together to teach this. Because there's some combination of learning and unlearning
Yes.
where often the path towards this for like the unconscious competence,
Hmm.
uh, awakened anything, awakened identity, awakened anything along in any direction, or a sense of like zone of genius or mastery. There's often a lot of learning, and then there's a lot of unlearning. Like there's a reason that um, progression from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence, like, ouch, I suck at this, but that's actually a sign of progress. Conscious competence, like, okay, I'm learning, I'm figuring this out, to unconscious competence where it just works. You're just walking through the world and magical things are happening around you when you know that when you are in this particular kind of activity, miracles will be created.
Hmm.
So a lot of my journey has been learning than unlearning. And I've also had journeys where I just didn't need to learn in the first place. The more that I've recognized the value of unlearning, I've also learned to recognize the value of not making it really difficult in the first place. This is often the territory of zone of genius for people. Like, I didn't really learn being calm and grounded. It's not something that I specifically practiced and developed.
Well, you are good at it.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where it just occurred to me as a good idea to be calm. And it occurred to me as a bad idea to be ungrounded. It occurred to me as a bad idea to be overthinking and worried and anxious. So I didn't really stray from my nature in that particular area. I think the areas where we tend to learn a lot and try a lot and fight really hard is also territory where we're kind of fighting our nature, where we have something that is both really important to us and we've got some thinking that's really in the way. So for like people working on relationship, it's a combination of relationship is very important and there's some thinking and beliefs that and resistance that's in the way. So there's kind of a fighting that often happens in that territory when both of those are at play.
Yeah, and acknowledgement is in order here, which is part of why you're here is the epic as fuck sessions we've had in the past several years. It's like one every 2 years or something.
Uh-huh.
Um, but they're very decisive, and this man is exceptionally like potent and generous. And um, you gave me a plausible way out of a mode of thinking that was um, painful and sort of a space I had condemned myself to energetically, emotionally, mentally, that was quite torturous. And yeah, it was about a rigidity in thinking and an option for an upgrade in narrative and story around how I held it. Specifically, because we're on the Make Love Easy podcast, I've had 13 opportunities to have sex with women in the past 2 years, and I've turned most, if not all of them, down, or lost, or bungled, or bumbled, stumbled when it came to some of these. And so, so our conversation centered around, well, maybe you're actually entering a new stage where your standards are higher, your boundaries are stronger, and what worked for you previously can't work anymore because your taste has refined, like energetically, emotionally, relationally. You're not
Mhm.
willing to put up with bullshit that could lead to self-harm later, like being in a relationship that's destructive, or being recklessly casual in choice of partners. And yet, when we last spoke, I still looked. There was a little bit of looking up to you, in like, oh man, he's got two sexual partners right now. That sounds awesome. Let me have him teach my people how he did that through fundamental well-being, because that's an interesting angle, and I'm sure it played a part. Hence why we're here. So yeah,
I'll speak to two things I just heard in there.
sure.
The first is this idea of standards, where karmically sometimes our current standard is doesn't match up with like what karma's standard is for us. Like I'm looking for this and it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and two of the things that I'll sometimes wonder, I think this is like what happened. It's probably one of the things I wondered in that session with you, where it's like, okay, either like you've got standards and it's not working. Either you need to lower the standards or raise the standards. But like whatever the current system is not working. Because for some people, it's just like, let's just lower the standards. Like if there's a sexual opportunity, go for it. If there's a dating opportunity, go for it. If there's someone who's like, I don't know, go for it. Sometimes that's the territory. And sometimes there's the territory of like there's a nascent higher standard which hasn't been owned. I think that's the insight, the impulse that I had for you,
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, you're sort of trying, it's not working. I actually need a higher bar, which is kind of scary because when you're at a level that's not quite working, setting a higher bar is will look like, well, it's going to be even worse. It's going to not work even more.
Yeah.
It's going to go from having connections that you're not inspired by or that something's missing to having no connections, or it's going to look like that.
It's like the 80/20. It's like you're taking the 20 of the 20
Hmm.
instead of just the yeah, I just saw that. And it's like have you ever read the book 10x is easier than 2x?
Yeah.
Oh man, it feels like that in its shape, even though it also feels like death.
And it is. It's an ego death or it's a story death. You'll still have an ego, but it's just like whatever dominant narrative you have of yourself. And whatever attachment you have to trying, it's kind of like instead of where you've been trying really hard and it's not been working, oh, okay, it's time to take on something even harder. It's time to take on something even like more ridiculous, even harder to achieve, an even higher bar. Because sometimes that's what's called for. And either could will probably move the needle. Like if you lower the bar, probably stuff will happen and you'll end up just back in the flow and like you'll learn. And if you raise the bar and continue still putting forth action, then something's going to happen. And my guess, like, because if you're actually meant to lower the bar, but you raise the bar, you probably will end up lowering the bar, and vice versa. Like, just it's kind of a version of do something different. It's kind of a coaching trick. It's like, okay, so what have you been doing? Okay, try this, which could be anything that you haven't been currently trying.
It could be. It's really great. Our jobs
Yeah,
are real easy in that moment. It's like,
yeah. Like make it easier, make it harder, do the opposite. Just do something different. Stop doing something that you have been doing and see what happens.
mm.
Just stir shit up.
I'm at one and the same time disappointed that I did not think to invite you to be a guest facilitator on my last retreat in San Francisco. This is your invitation to the next
You
one.
missed it.
Yeah, I missed it. I
You
didn't.
got to
I
raise the bar.
it didn't. Oh, that is a man with a healthy sense of his value right there. Yeah, yeah. Well, then you are officially invited. I'm looking at September for the next one. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, it'd be an honor because I have a vague sense of specific value. I don't know what it is, but also the acting classes show, the
Thank you.
meditation practice shows. I'm curious what kind of meditation practice or mindfulness practices have you done in the past, I guess, decade, it looks like.
Yeah. Specifically in meditation, that's an example of learning than unlearning for me.
Mm.
I first got started with meditation. It was like, I think it was my first morning routine. I would, I'd be creating bulletproof coffee. So I'd put coffee in the French press and I'd set my kitchen timer for 4 minutes, sit on the ground. And when the timer goes off, like my meditation was done and the coffee was ready. It was simply set a timer for a couple minutes and just sit there. And yeah, I've done various meditation programs. I've done some of the apps. I've studied. I was in the deepest meditation that I worked was when I was involved with the Luminous Awareness Institute.
Huh.
So I was in an energy healing school for 6 years, 3 rounds of a 2-year school, and we did Dzogchen-style meditation. So I've done some of the most advanced kinds of meditation in the world, which are usually short ones rather than long. Like I've never done a day-long meditation. I've never done the Vipassana.
Hmm.
I think longest I've meditated is probably an hour and a half, and that was probably during Luminous, is when I was doing those meditations. But for Dzogchen, I've done meditations that bring me in touch with the spacious awareness where just I disappear and I'm aware of everything, where I recognize myself as the energy of the universe. I recognize myself as both the energy of the universe and this personal self present, and subtle energy and ground of being and wholeness and awareness. I've done deep meditations in each of these directions, which gave me an experiential flavor of spirituality. And one of the things that I learned after doing that for a while and leaning more into some other work that I'm involved with, the inside out understanding, the more that I've recognized that, the more that I've downgraded these very cool meditation experiences
Hmm.
to more tools and reminders
Hmm.
rather than them actually, rather than me needing to do them, and rather than them being truth or like of and in themselves. I think of meditation as a powerful way to sort of remind myself of like, oh yeah, right now. Or yeah, oh yeah, that's right. I have a body. Okay, sensations. Okay, energy. Whew. It's kind of a way to come back. It's a way to um, remember, come back to signal out of the noise. So it's a great practice for that. But it's different than spiritual truth. I've had meditation experiences that give me a sense of spiritual truth, but it's really just what I feel when I'm close to a realization. Like there's a difference between knowing that there's no such thing as the past and there's no such thing as the future, that it's a construct. It's like those are just experiences within the now. There's a difference between having the meditation experience of that, like, and the conceptual knowing of that, and the actual just getting it. Because both the conceptual and the meditation experience are pointers. Meditation is a pointer. And for things that I've gotten, I don't really need to meditate anymore. Like I don't do groundedness meditation. I don't do Michael meditation to remember that my name is Michael. It's the same reason I don't do gravity meditation, to make sure that gravity is still working. And it's why I don't actually consider meditation a spiritual practice, because spirit just is. I consider meditation a really, really valuable psychological practice. It helps clear the mind. And nowadays, my meditation is just 6 minutes as part of my morning routine. It has bounced around between 4 to 10 minutes.
Did you get a new coffee maker that takes longer?
No, I
Okay.
got a much more elaborate morning routine where after I'm stretching and doing a little bit of yoga and doing a couple different breathing things, and then I sit in front of an altar for 6 minutes.
Huh,
Then
cool.
after that, I go feed my cats.
For some reason, I just have this image of you making coffee for your cats.
That
I'm not sure why.
would be cruel.
I don't think they would drink coffee. Yeah, I don't think that's a thing. Uh, man, there's so many directions. So I'm going to give you a yes or no question, which is weird given how far we go in all directions.
Uh-huh.
Did your practices awaken your identity, or did it support in the awakening of your identity?
You mean by my practices, do you mean my routines or
The
things that I've done?
meditation, the Luminous Institute, the
Yeah, not the practices. Let me think about identity.
hmm.
Because it speaks to that authenticity. The less that I thought about myself, it feels like the more that's become my identity.
Yeah, that you are the space where your body mind shows up, less less than a thing. Like it's not about a configured ego. It's about a fundamental. What I heard was a figure ground reversal, like Shinzen Young talks about in the Science of Enlightenment, where it's like you're not the thing. You're not doing a meditation. You're being meditated. You're being breathed by life.
Hmm.
You are life. I don't know. I'm being vague here, but I'm sure you have a better distinction.
Yeah, I like actually I like the language of figure ground shift.
Hmm.
Um, that's one way to describe a lot of my evolution over the last, it's like 15, 20 years of personal development work.
Hmm.
Lots of figure and ground shifts
Hmm.
where I thought I was this, then I realized like, oh, actually I'm this, and I have a this.
Mhm.
I I still, yeah, my language wise, I still talk as if I'm my ego, but I also really know that I'm not.
Mhm.
I know that I am the space in which I have a psychology.
Mhm.
I know that I am some wave of the cosmic ocean that has an individual person, an individual soul,
Hmm.
getting to be alive and participate in life. Like I know that I'm the universe lifing.
Mm-hmm.
And over the last year, because I've gotten deep into the grounding of knowing that I'm not my psychology. In the last year, I've been knowing that I have a psychology doesn't mean that I need to be dismissive of having a psychology. It doesn't mean that I need to get rid of the ego. But I get that the ego is totally made up, including all the both the consciously made up and all the subconsciously made up. So I've started to have a lot more access to make up my ego however I like to make it up.
Hmm.
So like that's more of the being work that I've been involved more in over the last year, where I sort of craft the ways of being that I want to move, that I want to gravitate towards. It's an attempt to describe myself at my best and remind myself that's who I am at my best, while also knowing that it's made up. So it's a construct, but it's also a practice.
Is that inflected by the work of, say, Steve Hardison? I think we first meet through the
Um,
Ultimate Coach?
Maybe. Not sure how we originally met, actually. Hardison is one of the most recent influences, though my first version of a declaration I did back in 2011.
Hmm. Cool.
Like, I think Heidegger was one of the origins of a lot of this direction of work, and also just the idea of having self-declarations is all over the place.
Hmm.
Like positive psychology talks about self-talk a lot. Uh,
Yeah, there are different ways of holding it, right? I mean, you go in Landmark and you become a possibility. You can declare a way of being, and then Hardison is a really great vehicle for the subtle and precise, like distinguishing of that practice in a way that somebody can literally pick up and start using. Um,
mhm.
yeah, I mean, and then obviously ways of being can then downstream impact all of this. So if you've got that practice or capacity hooked up, then you're well, it's interesting because ways of being through declaration as a
Mhm.
vehicle for self-creation, it looks in structure similar to the figure ground reversal from sort of awakening meditate the spiritual truth awareness. It's just it's like a practically applied, like, okay, I am everything, nothing, and therefore let me create whatever I choose in the moment, because it's always a choice what I'm identifying with, and that choice of way of being improves my experience, and downstream, not because I'm doing it so that in order to, but by virtue of just because it's who I am, my performance and capacity and results shift, which is the original idea behind this whole conversation. So yeah, you got more.
Yeah, because our personal selves, like we are totally made up. And most people, a lot of the work in front of them is recognizing all the unhelpful ways that they've made themselves up and stopping it.
Mm,
And when you really get that you're totally made up and you start dropping the unhelpful things,
mhm,
you also start to realize that you can make yourself up however you like, try on some things and see what happens. And it's really high leverage. It's one of the things I love about being
mm,
work it's it is not dependent on circumstances. It is not dependent on skill. It is not dependent on time. In any moment, you can just step into being, whatever way of being that you want to take on. And from that identifying, from that being, what you do and how you do it naturally flows. So if you want to be a social rock star, you can step into I am a social rock star and start acting appropriately. You can step into being masterful at a skill, and even if you haven't even started learning that skill, you can start with the way of being. You can start with the choosing that being. And then it's like there's a good chance that you'll want to start learning. If I wanted to become a master of an instrument that I've never even played before, I can choose to become the master and then like, well, I should probably go find that instrument somewhere and like poke at it and start making noise with it.
There's so much here. I've got a long list of like diversionary digressions that we could take. I mean,
Yeah. There's a
so
lot of places we could go. So what would be helpful for the listeners? Like maybe like focus us.
yeah, for people who choose to create their way of being as a function of their language in the moment, there are barriers to being however they want to be that are like trauma or emotional holding in the nervous system or some scaras, like well-worn pathways. And so, an old school landmark that they have you create a way of being socially. So the social reification kind of lent validity and capacity to the psychological choice to speak it and act from it. And then they'd say, we'll take one action from this way of being. And then if there was a breakdown, they'd say, redeclare the way of being. Now, I, for example, am committed to being loving. And yet, there are moments where, to the best and most precise of my capacity to distinguish, there's a hyperactive, anxiously attached nervous system engaged in a protest behavior because it has misidentified, like a false positive, that at a visceral somatic level, beyond my cognitive capacity to story or to re narrativize effortlessly, like there's a visceral felt sense of, oh my God, I'm not going to get what I need. I'm in danger, fight or flight. And it could be any of many things. Like I literally saw it starting to come on. I was cycling through, moving the boundaries of the frame of the window that you're in, and just like I opened the chat and I've been typing things, and so I saw in Messenger as I was moving the that somebody who went out of her way after we went on a date, like it's been about a month, maybe 2 months, to send me a 3 minute long audio about all the things I did wrong and all the ways I was wrong.
Uh-huh.
And this was after I shared with her a week previous. I was like, hey, can I share how awesome the impact of your energy has been? It was like really healing for me. You showed up in a dream. And she she came back a week later to say, "Oh, yeah, I've been meaning to talk to you. You've been really aggravating me." And I'm like, "I haven't talked to you in a fucking month." And
Mhm.
so, why are you aggravated? And she waited a week to respond to my message about my dream to tell me, "Oh, I might be interested." She waited a day to respond about herself. And I was like, oh, this is a really clear indication of her character. She's more interested in taking space than making space. And so this whole just seeing the edge of she had sent another message kicked my nervous system into, it's not DEFCON 1, but it's a rigidity. It's a rigidity, and it shows up in my thinking, and it shows
Mhm.
up in my behavior as defensiveness, sometimes as aggressive defensiveness. And so as you were speaking, I was like, oh yeah, let me try this on, because the past day has not been this way of being. The past day has been a very different way of being. I was like, let me try on. I'm creating the possibility of being happy and grateful. And I was like, okay, interesting. And then there was an immediate breakdown and an immediate violation of the context in me tuning into the sensations of my experience in my embodiment. And now I'm a brain taxi riding on top of a thing that could very, if I tuned into it for long enough, I'm absolutely certain it would escalate into a DEFCON 1 and would go from a 1 or a 2 to a 7. And then I'd be banging my boxing bag, negotiating with myself about whether or not to confront the dysfunction in her arrogant assumption she has the right to facilitate me or call out shadow when like I didn't ask for that and I didn't consent to it. I mean, maybe she believes that I consented to a full range of professional facilitation through asking her why she was annoyed. But when I received her message yesterday, I was like, fuck you. I was like, fuck you straight to hell. And just like yelling and screaming. And then had to Vegas nerve reset in the beginning of a coaching session. I did it like this, so my client couldn't tell what I was doing. I, ironically, what was beautiful about that was it started to help her co-regulate my client
Mhm.
yesterday. And
Mhm.
and so like I'm now entering a deeper level of regulation than I was before the trigger that engendered it in this other person. And like I could do that, but it tires me. It shows me that there's a rigidity and a lack of plasticity in the nervous system that I can't merely will or declare my way around or out of. Like I can hold it, which I think would be the traditional response, right? You create
Mhm.
a way of being, and now the sensations become a figure against the ground of the way of being. Cool, but at a certain level of intensity, the sensations start driving the show just by virtue of us having a nervous system. And I liked your language, having a psychology that pulls us into autopilot genetic level, like defensive behaviors and mechanisms, like the fight or flight response. And so, I'm working with a somatic practitioner on like how do I just deal with the sensations rather than reacting to them? Because for a neurodivergent, it's like your shirt is on fire. It's
Mhm.
more intense sensation than I think a neurotypical can actually understand, can
Mhm.
meaningfully, relatably, like have a concept for. But anyway, yeah, I'm a unique bird in that. Probably most of our listeners will just be like, well, I said I was a thing, and then I started method acting like I was the thing, and then
Mhm.
something happened and I got triggered and I lost the thing. And how do I get back into the thing, or how do I maintain the thing in the face of an intense sensation that where the sensation seems to be telling me who I am? It seems to
Mhm.
be pulling and congealing my identity in a certain way
Mhm.
that then prevents me from just playing. Does that make sense?
It does. And it's an important and tricky point to point at because our what we feel is essentially the texture of our thinking.
Yes.
And most of it is subconscious thinking. It's
Yes.
not think it's and very little of it is actually verbal narrative thinking. Like really, for example, your whole adventure with receiving these messages and this last message, really you're just man in front of screen, light on eyeballs.
You are absolutely correct. It is the nervous system before the intervention of the cognitive mechanism that processes those light shifts on the eyeballs as having a certain valence or salience or meaning.
Mhm.
And then I talk to people, I'm like, well, yeah, I really want to intervene with all of my context technology and, take a conscious pause and stop engaging. And it's like, well, okay, that it's already happened.
Yeah, and we create meaning We assign meaning to everything in order to be able to think about it, in order to be able to comprehend it. The thing is, most of our meaning making is really crude, really autopilot. We're not aware that we're doing it, and it's
Super useful.
really unhelpful.
Yeah.
And it tends to reinforce old stories. Like if you've got some big story about, oh, like this never works, or I'm this kind of person in some sort of negative way, then we'll just meaning make in that direction when we're not present.
Hmm.
And like that, and that's what you feel. We feel the meaning that we're making out of something. We're not actually feeling the truth of anything. We're not actually experiencing the world. Like if I'm trying to remember, there's a metaphor I gave someone. Okay, it's not coming back to me at the moment.
Mhm.
But if something terrible happens, it can't make you feel anything. Like notice if something terrible happens, but you don't know about it, you're not actually feeling anything about it. Like if you didn't get the message, you have to have gotten the message. You just seeing like her name is enough to for you to start thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, the assumption is that she's gonna unload more without permission, consent, or invitation.
Yeah,
And
like she might butt dial you and you'll freak out about seeing the message and like how long it is and make up what it means.
so I love the direction you're pointing us because it suggests mystical practice like the figure ground reversal through meditation or Dzogchen or open sky meditation, whatnot, as freeing us as the stream of consciousness to be in contact with the primal texture and functional and unlimited functional performative capacity of our conscious mind beyond the texture of thoughts, which have, for better or for worse, per thought, conditioned us. And yeah, and at the same time, I'm also aware of like in polyvagal theory, because the traditional understanding in coaching, you get this in Landmark, I got this in Earthwaking, thoughts lead to feelings, lead to actions, lead to results. But it's not just that at the nervous system level. It's also sensations lead to thoughts. And like there's visceral embodied reactions that are not mediated by thought, that just occur, that just arise. And Vipassana talks about this. Like just put your focus of your attention on the thoughts. And there's a lot of cool things that can be done with the sensations in Vipassana where you start noticing, oh, this is not actually a thing. This is a process. And as I get aware of this process, then I start to see the illusory nature of the self, because all these processes are independently arising together, and there is no frame on all that except the one that I place on it.
Mhm.
And so that original texture can be unveiled if you be with the sensations. Yeah, I tell people just be with the negative sensations, but for me, I'm like a high performer. So like, if the negative sensation comes up in the midst of like a high pressure facilitation, like I'm like, well, oh shit, I I must be in a way that maintains my effectiveness and professionalism, even despite the fact that there is a part of me that wants to murder a small animal right now, at the very least, or possibly a human.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Physics lesson. First of all, sort of keeping in, trying to also like share some things that people would be able to track who are listening to this.
Yes, yes, we're high level facilitators. We don't need to get lost in the.
Because we can geek out really fast and enjoy it, and it might be hard to follow. Um, I encourage and love just trying things out in this territory. Like get curious about the nature of this stuff. Get curious about sensations and thoughts and feelings about how they relate. What are they? Um, because I mean, really, that's the original scientific method, where instead of science, not the conclusions of, but the process of trying stuff on, wondering, how does this work? What is the nature of this? So get really curious about this, not settling for any one particular model or methodology.
Mm.
So a distinction I like to make with my clients is physics versus engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Engineering is it's like the how do I questions. It's like, what do I do? Engineering works within a set of givens. Well, given that thought causes feeling, causes action, what do I do? It's a model. And I encourage people, like, if you've got wherever you've got engineering that's working, go for it.
Mm.
But if you end up sort of asking existential, how do I, or why isn't this working, or I'm confused, the world isn't behaving properly, or I'm not behaving properly, instead of doubling down on engineering questions of how do I fix this? What do I do? Should I do this or should I do this? Start getting curious about the physics, which is more the vertical direction. Physics is a different kind of conversation. They're both practical. Engineering is sort of obviously practical. It's more in the realm of doing an action and achieving and changing things. Physics is also a practical conversation, but in a completely different way. Physics is the conversation about how does this actually work? What is the nature of this? Um, the physics conversation is giving yourself permission to be wrong about some of the assumptions that you have about the domain that you're talking about.
Mm.
If you're struggling in relationships, it's a good time to like assume that you're probably fundamentally wrong about some of the assumptions that you have about relationship. Anywhere where, well, men are this, women are this, relationships, this is how relationships should work. Yeah, like like that's your level of physics. So the physics conversation is opportunity to see something new. Sometimes it's just seeing an assumption that you have and dropping it. The physics conversations that I love is when people start to see, oh, it's the other way around, like that figure ground stuff that keeps on happening in development. Um, like, yeah, see if I can think of an example. I mean, really, like paradigm shifts are the physics conversation. Oh, actually, the Earth revolves around the sun, and suddenly the math starts working.
Mm.
That's the insight that happens in a physics conversation. It was the engineering conversation for like, well, the math isn't quite working. Let's just keep on figuring it out so that the math kind of works better.
Yeah.
But if something's not working, get curious about the physics. What is the nature of this? So you were talking about like I hear a lot of map where there's different things. It's like, okay, well, there are sensations and there are thoughts and there are feelings.
Mm.
It in my current understanding, I just hear, okay, yeah, but there's thought and there's thought and there's thought and there's thinking about thinking about thinking about thinking.
Mm.
So what should I think about my thinking about my thinking about my thinking?
Huh. Which frame is the correct one that accurately predicts and understands and models the experience and distinguishes the aspects? Yeah. I mean, this is a
Yeah.
high-level facilitator conversation. I saw. Thank you for putting the guardrails in place because this can go really, yeah.
Like, and where I've gotten to in that conversation is I've started to see more and more how everything is thought.
Mm.
And part of that is expanding the meaning of the word thought right there.
Mm.
Because most people think of thought as just internal narrative.
Mm.
Like if it's verbal and you can write it down, then it's thought. It's like expanding it. It's like it's all the subconscious. Babies, before they're verbal, they have thought. Like babe, if they're uncomfortable and they cry, they're like crying because they have sort of uncomfortable thinking.
Mm.
If you're afraid and your nervous system activates, like that's your nervous system is the expression of like nervous thinking. And like when there's stuff like I think there's the wisdom of the body, there's this idea of thought of things being stored in the body. I think it's more accurate to describe that it's thought being expressed through the body.
Mm.
Like thought activates the body. If you get a message and you go into terror or you go into joy and your body will express that. Your nervous system will express that. Your nervous system is engaged based on what you're thinking. And sometimes, like the nervous system is also slower and physical. You might stop thinking it, but the nerves are still there. There's been times where the adrenaline has shot up, and then it's quick. I've quickly realized it's like, oh yeah, not a problem, but the adrenaline is still in my body. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm just gonna be weird for a while.
I'm
And then we have thinking.
Mm,
We think more about our sensations. We think more about our feelings.
mm,
And especially those of us who've gotten involved in lots of therapy land, lots of transformation land, we tend to have picked up a lot of thinking about our feeling.
mhm,
So we tend to just spiral unconsciously, thinking about thinking about thinking about thinking.
mm.
And I've started to recognize and just have a feel for that and get that it's unnecessary. That actually all of that thinking about thinking, including nervous system, including feeling and energy moving, it's really a spiraling, trying to get in touch with something that is more fundamental than thought. It's like running out of your house and running down the street trying to get to your house. Like that's sort of what I see almost everyone doing around me.
Mm.
Like, dude, stop. It's right there.
House. Yeah. You're home.
You're home, you just don't know it. You're trying to think yourself into well-being and you're not recognizing well-being.
Mm. Yeah, that strikes me as an interesting redefinition because we managed to riff on the original theme from some of the angles. I love this. Like an interesting redefinition of what well-being means. Most people they think, oh, my body is working, I have the sex, I have the relationship, um, my job is going well, the money is flowing, like that is well-being. But what you're pointing to is a well-being that's independent of those conditions.
Yeah, and I'll make a distinction. Well-being versus relief.
Yep.
Relief is I've made up that I need to have and experience these things for me to be okay and for me to be happy. Relief is it's expectations. And when our circumstances meet our expectations, we're happy. And if they haven't been meeting our like expectations and then they're met, like I hope I achieved this, I hope I achieved this. Yes, I achieved this. Relief. It's like it gives you some dopamine. Like it is a useful mechanism. It's a game that we play. I'm not even against us playing it,
Mhm.
but it's different than well-being.
Yeah, I'm reminded of James Carr's talking about finite and infinite games. Have you read this?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, a finite game is played to win. An infinite game is played to keep playing. And if you can take on the infinite game of being or recognizing or acknowledging, remembering the being that you are being fundamentally well, then all
Mhm.
those other games become easier to win and less urgent to apply to at all.
Yeah, because like well-being is more of an infinite game and relief is finite game.
Yeah.
Because when you're in a game, like you're really involved and you're going all out and you're there to win. And note that it's really helpful to know that you're when you're playing a finite game.
Yeah.
Because if you're taking a finite game personally, then like you are at stake.
Hmm.
You're identified with something that's going to end. You're identified with winning and losing, and it's fundamentally insecure. It's mentally unhealthy to identify with a finite game. And also, you just don't play as well when you're identified.
Yeah, you're always looking
Like,
at the scoreboard.
yeah, if you have to win, if you have to not lose, um, yeah, you're going to be a terrible player because you're just taking it way too seriously, and so you lose access to your greater intelligence. You end up with like if yeah, like because a lot of high performance is being relaxed, being present rather than I need to win, this needs to work. Like this doesn't work with high performance. It's still normalized within business, but within sports, they figured this out because they actually follow science.
That was profound. Um, I There's a scene in Star Trek: The Next Generation after Picard gets de-assimilated by the Borg. He's back on Earth, and he's been used by these evil aliens to like destroy and kill. And he's with his brother, and they're fighting. He's got so much pent up rage at himself mostly, and they fight and they get down in the dirt. And he has this moment where he says, I've tried so hard. And in all of Star Trek history, you never see Picard cry except this one. I mean, I guess generations. It's twice, I think, that I can remember. There's probably more now that I'm thinking about it. But because he's been judging himself for not being able to measure up, and he was in an impossible situation where his free will was literally taken from him, his capacity. He was turned into this zombie creature. Um, and then so he lets himself loose. And so as you were talking, I literally cried because it was like, oh, for the sake of being a leader to the men through this, I've been telling myself I have to be successful. I have to have some result, or else what value do I have to these men?
Mm.
And I was complaining to my brother last night. I was like, man, it's my job to approach women and be successful at it. And I've been getting numbers, but I had this one date with this woman who's like fucking angry at me from a month or two ago, who was fairly high quality. And and what I realized when I cried to the phone on him or at him last night was there are people far worse that have hope because I believe something more is possible than what they're achieving. So I don't even have to have anything possible for me.
Mhm.
I don't, I don't have to believe in that. And I don't have to have reason for proof or evidence that I can have better than what I've been getting. I get to stand as the holder of the context and the vision that others can achieve and others can succeed. And as I've been doing that, it's almost like faith training. It's almost like God saying, "All right, you I'm going to put you in the position where it's hardest for you to believe in what's possible, and you're going to have to manufacture that belief. You're going to have to stand as that belief, as that context for others who desperately need it, even more than you do. People who've never had sex or relationship,
Mhm.
who are like acutely suicidal because they
Mhm.
haven't had that yet.
Mhm.
And then consider yourself, you've had this, and you're not having it right now for whatever reason, but you get to be the bearer of that. So just thank you for the profundity of your impact and your codes and contribution. Because like even in this conversation, I'm experiencing relief, but I'm also experiencing freedom beyond the relief. It's
You
funny.
can have both.
Yeah, you can have both at the same time.
Well-being and relief are not contradictory. You can have both.
Yeah, I feel well-being returning at the same time as relief and going all the way back because I'm sure you've got a lot to say. The system was optimized for doing and being wrong because I wasn't getting what I was making up were my needs met or my desires achieved while purveying and proffering to others that they can get theirs met. And it's a weird cycle. I don't know if you've ever entered that as a coach where other people you were supporting were getting the best perfect results that you most desire for yourself, that
Oh,
you've produced for yourself before, but for whatever reason it's broken. The system is no longer optimized. Yeah.
totally. Lots of my clients leapfrog me. It's sort of a thing in coaching.
Welcome to coaching.
I want what my clients are having.
Yes. Maybe I should get a coach. Maybe I should coach myself. It's so seldom that I coach myself, by the way. I have a part personality that is facilitator, that has been in the darkest, deepest shit of my life and just wakes up and inspires the fuck out of people and wakes
Hmm.
them up and then they move and then they get new shit.
Hmm.
And then I'm like, wait a second, let me let me turn that on for me, right?
Yeah, that's why we get coaching.
Yeah, because it's
So
like
we
over
can
there.
leapfrog our coaches.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. That too. That too. But it's almost like the ego hallucinates away a part personality that would require it to go to sleep or disappear in the face of its own disempowerment. Like,
Mhm.
anyway, this we need to have like a meta coaching podcast conversation. That's where ours
Uh-huh.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to speak a little bit to well-being as well.
Yeah.
So we spoke about like relief and a lot of the of thinking traps. Um, Well-being is, as I think of it, is that sense of fundamental, unconditional well-being. That there is a solid ground within everyone where we are fundamentally okay.
Mm.
And it's formless. It is unrelated to circumstances. It's unrelated to your psychology. It's unrelated to your health. It's an aspect of well-being, a kind of well-being, where it's not because of something. It's not as long as something. You you can start just philosophically if there was such a thing as unconditional well-being,
Yeah.
where it's not something that is conditional, it's not something that comes and goes, it's something that is as a fundamental truth. If that does exist, like, or it's more like, what if that existed? And it's an inquiry. You might look in all sorts of ways. It might be intellectual, it might be kind of a meditation kind of feeling. But you start to recognize, you start to get a sense of the truth of it, that no one is broken. Nothing is wrong with anyone. Any sense of right, wrong, good, bad, should, uh, are stories that we make up and that then we play out. Those are all finite games. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the performative, it collapses into it's almost a quote from the Tao Te Ching. Like the moment someone sets a goal is the moment the achievement of that goal, even if they're free of morality, even if they're free, at least like cognitively and philosophically of the right wrong,
Mhm.
still at like orange level in integral theory,
Mhm.
right? The moment they say, I want this, but not that, is the moment they potentially condemn themselves to the spiraling out of good, bad, right, wrong, and the pain that arises because of that, or failing at that, or failing to be that. And that
Yeah.
collapse, it's still there. It's subtler though.
Yeah. Because I'm a huge fan of goals as things to do. I think whenever you think that your goal is your ground, that's when you're in trouble.
Uh-huh.
Like if you want to get into a relationship and you think that that's the thing that will save you or make you okay, you have outsourced. You're now like you now have a very conditional well-being. You've made up that your well-being is dependent on something in the future.
Hmm.
Or if you have a breakup, which yeah, it's gonna like it'll probably be painful given most people's psychologies. But if you think that you are broken, if you think that you've lost your ground, then that that feeling of suffering is actually letting you know that your understanding is off. The suffering is letting you know that you're wrong about well-being. Like you have a false well-being, a
Yeah.
false ground.
Yeah, I didn't think that I had another leg of the journey as a dating relationship coach, but it really is. Like I used to say I went from sexually suppressed
Mhm.
to overly expressed to committed to exquisite alignment. But the
Nice.
depth of the subcategories and the range of what's available inside alignment was beyond what I could conceive or imagine or perceive. It's like different colors along the rainbow. And so in order to get out of the enormity of pain that was underneath this surface of sexual repression and instinctual desire for connection and love with the opposite sex, like not being good through Catholicism and other things, like there was a deeper pain that was obscured by the bandages that I put on top of the wound so as to be able to pick up the ball and throw it, or to be effective, so to speak.
Hmm.
It's like three
Yeah.
metaphors at once that. And so getting used to handling and throwing the ball, even in spite of the wound still being there,
Hmm.
and getting good at throwing the ball and catching it, still experiencing the pain from time to time, all
Hmm.
obscured the poisoned understanding in the wound itself.
Hmm.
And so now arguably, since my last breakup, it's been about taking off the bandages. And occasionally when I touch the wound, it hurts worse than it ever has. So the desire to go back to just throwing the ball
Hmm.
and being good at throwing the ball is strong, which
Hmm.
would be the lowering of the standards, by the way, the running the experiment to entertain the taste of what that would feel like, just to see what it gets me. And I have the
Hmm.
strong suspicion that if I went for lowering the standards, I would be fulfilled, like physically in the moment, or for a duration by the limerence chemicals. But then
Hmm.
I would have the experience, to quote scripture, of returning like a dog to its vomit on the other side of that, and just being like, well, it did not change the being of who I am or the texture of the thinking that needs to be displaced or recoded,
Hmm.
released. So, yeah.
Yeah. One of the shifts that happens the more that you recognize well-being is that how you navigate life changes. It shifts from trying to get something in order to be okay to coming from already being okay. Then you still want to do things, but they occur more like simple desires rather than needs. One of my things is needs are wants with control issues.
Even the supposed need to pee or sleep or eat or have someone look at you once in 2 days so you don't turn into a castaway Tom Hanks.
Yeah, I mean, if it's if sometimes need just means simple desire, like, oh, if I'm thirsty, I'll drink.
Hmm,
But I'm talking about like the kinds of needs where it's like starts to become personal.
hmm.
I need to drink water. You start getting creepy with the water. Then it's like there's a lack of well-being there. And so and really like when that neediness, when that heaviness, when the taking things personally, um when you recognize you're okay no matter what circumstances you're in, that's when all those other things in the make love easy graph there start to become easy. It's what makes love easy is instead of needing love from out there, needing to get love, it's you're coming from love.
Yeah. Yeah, I preach this, and I love the way in which you so elegantly, over the course of this podcast, took my language and distinction, filled your own signifieds in behind it, and elaborated on that. That expands. I mean, it's like you just made this map mean more than it could have ever meant before. Like I could literally take any person who I invite here and just be like, what does this mean to you? And how would
Talk about this. Yeah.
yeah, how would you get someone here? I'm not going to say
Yeah.
anything
It's
about what
helpful. I mean,
I have
these
to
words are in front of me, so I tend to talk about them.
say. I
It's
should
great prompting.
I should put the word poop on the frame.
Yeah. I noticed I didn't talk about conscious language because it's mostly hidden most of the time.
Because I'm hiding it. Yeah, because I'm
The unconscious conscious language.
it's unconscious. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's so much, man. Well, I want to review some of the awesomeness you've given us. Stop thinking and end all your problems. To quote the Tao, a version of the Tao Te Ching, I think he says
Mhm.
that in
Or
Stephen.
I'd say like stop overthinking.
Yes, 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 yes. And you stopped thinking something or anything, and attained an authenticity that sort of made you more powerful and easeful and effective. Because true authenticity is beyond thought. It's like the Wei Wu way that he talks about in the preface of Stephen Mitchell's, the doing that vanishes into the action, the doer vanishes into the action. And then we talked about, how the system gets optimized. And for me, it was a reflection on there's days of mourning where the old system it is no longer working or I don't want to work it, and then days of gratitude where I'm celebrating that there's a new system in place. And what system are you optimizing for? Well, what are you optimizing for? And sometimes the system is optimized for doing and being wrong. But newsflash, the text message that she sent me was actually a compliment. So there's some qualified thinking, the texture of which is just fundamentally incorrect and assumes that it's going to be another assault when someone communicates.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, now, that all leads me to this place. Given an hour of facilitation time, could you induce or activate an experience of people remembering that fundamental well-being?
Totally.
Would you like to do it on my retreat via Zoom next week sometime? We'll find a
Yes.
time that's easy for you. But
Yeah.
man,
Let's do it.
oh, that's awesome. So now you've been recruited as a guest facilitator for two of my future retreats, one of them in San Francisco. Man, that's delightful. Real time, and we can work that out after this.
Yeah.
Because it's such a gift, and I've seen glimmers and glimpses of remembering inside myself who I am and what's available. And it's like energetic, cognitive, emotional hygiene. We forget. We forget as
Yeah.
we live, as we set goals and pursue them, as we entertain stories and narratives in our heads, and until we remember. So thank you for being the space of remembering that activates and awakens identities so that they can have ease everywhere else. And in fact, indeed, make love easy. Thanks for joining me there.
My pleasure.
Of course, that wasn't the end. That was just me taking stock of how awesome it's been. This is, I mean, we've got actually no, we've got a 2 minute, don't we? Um,
We're
so
close to the end. So yeah,
the end.
time.
Um, what what would you most like to leave people with, and how can they find you beyond coming to
Um,
my retreats? Yeah.
let's see. Okay, I'll cover like how to find me since it's an easy answer first. Michael McDonald, transformational coach. My website is authenticintegrity.com. And feel free to email me at michael@authenticintegrity.com. I'm human. I respond. We can chat. It's fun. So yeah, whether it's a share about this conversation or if you've got a question about something that I mentioned here, or if you'd like a pointer to a resource if you want to have a conversation. And something to leave. Okay, so I'll lean into the well-being dimension here because it's one of the things that opens up everything else. Um, Imagine that you get everything that you want. If you like made a list of all of the desires, the ideal future, ideal relationship, the best sex, the being in the best shape of your life, doing what you're meant to be doing. imagine all that, and it's beyond just the relief of that, like, but actually that is your life. And what would that feel like having all that? What would it feel like to be living the life of your dreams? And then drop the circumstances, the stories of that, and just hang out in that feeling. And that feeling, that's you. That's who you really are. And it's something that you just started to access in this moment, and your circumstances didn't change. That's a closer feeling to who you really are, and it's the feeling of that fundamental well-being. And from that feeling, it's often a lot easier to start creating those things, or at least letting those things happen. So yeah.
Amazing. You did in 1 minute what I thought you'd need an hour for. I'm sure you'll do it even deeper in an hour. And raise your desire to the power of infinity and then experience the joy and boredom of an immortal giant. That was the poetic phrasing of what you were doing. It's like it's already done. I'm already done. Everything's already won. I'm already
Hmm.
won.
Hmm.
Mind is the only split. The heart has already won.
Hmm.
So we step back into the heart. Thank you for your grace, your time, your expertise, your shares, your being, your standing wave of transformation. And
Mm.
y'all, thanks for listening. Please follow this man. Transformational coach is not a phrase that works often to describe people. Most people are aspiring to it, but transformation, like you open your fridge and you find the Grand Canyon, yeah, I'd say this man does that. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah, good to be back in conversation with you.
All right, man. God bless and make love easy, y'all.